Present a discussion on the language of paradox in poetry as enunciated in Cleanth Brooks' essay The Language of Paradox. Marks 10-12. Answer. In his essay, The Language of Paradox, Cleanth Brooks intends to seek and identify the remarkable nature of literary language, which earlier stated by I.A. Richards, is distinct from scientific language. This literary language as employed especially in poetry, for Richards, is emotive, and for Brooks, it is paradoxical. Brooks begins the essay with a paradoxical statement: the language of poetry is the language of paradox. Paradox is generally associated with wit and intellect, whereas poetry is emotional or, as the Greeks would have it, divinely irrational. But in a sense poetry does require the language of paradox to convey its truth. In contrast, the language of science needs to be purged of every trace of paradox. Brooks, like I.A. Richards before him, takes up Wordsworth, to show that the language of romantic poetry can be paradoxical. Wordsworth is usually known to be direct and simple in his poetic utterances, yet Brooks shows that most of Wordsworth's poems are based upon paradoxical situations. Brooks believes that the real meaning of any poem can be arrived at only through ironies, paradoxes, ambiguities and evolution of dormant ideas or associations, buried in the mind. He refers to a sonnet of Wordsworth to show that there is an underlying paradox in the situation. The poet's state of mind in the calm and beauteous evening is occupied with a profound sense of devotion or admiration for nature. Yet the girl walking beside him appears to be unmindful. There is an implication that she should respond to the holiness of time and be like the evening. However, there is a paradox: she appears to be unmindful, yet her nature is not less divine. She worships more intensely through her unconscious sympathy with nature. Her devotion to nature is spontaneous and continuous, as opposed to the sporadic or momentary devotion of the poet. The sonnet, upon Westminster Bridge, arises out of a paradoxical situation, according to Brooks. The city of London, as seen by the poet in the clean and crisp early morning sunshine, is a revelation. One is accustomed to the grimy sights of the city, but to view the city in the smokeless air, translucent in the morning sun, along with its buildings, the river, and the wharfs on its banks, the poet is reminded that the city is also a part of nature. The notion of the houses being alive and asleep is opposed to the idea of considering them lifeless, mechanical, and inanimate objects. In a way, the lack of activity in the houses at this hour may suggest lifelessness. But the reference to these as being asleep adds a connotative meaning. It imparts a sense of life, that they are a part of nature, actively involved in the life of nature. Thus we can approach the poem through the paradox of life within lifelessness. Drawing the reader's attention to Wordsworth's preface to the second edition of Lyrical Ballads, Brooks shows that paradox has always been inherent in his poetry. Wordsworth asserts that his intention was to show the common as the uncommon, the prosaic as the poetic. Paradox in romantic poetry is a result of the romantic poet's desire to represent the tarnished familiar world in a new light, because the poet is preoccupied with a sense of awe and wonder. Finished. Please subscribe to the channel for more updates of ready-made notes on English literature. Also, please share this channel to help any student pursue a degree in English literature. Thank you very much for watching the video. Please do not forget to like and comment.